and execute it against the SQL database. With Sugar, all you do is create your object and extend Sugar record, and while the app launches, Sugar will take care of creating the database for you. Okay, this is how you insert a query from your database in Android. Insert into book queries. The problem with queries is it gets difficult to maintain as your app grows and the complexity grows. So our ORM takes care of kind of generating the queries and reduces the hassle of maintaining them in future. So this is what you do. You create the object and call save on it, and it takes care of saving the record for you. This is much more readable. That's the benefit. Apart from saving you from writing queries and all that, it reads in your business fashion. So you can call, okay, I'm creating an object of book and saving it. That saves a record for you. How do you query a record? This looks like C code, but it is Java. Yeah. There's a cursor that you query for, and then from each property you get the values and stuff like that. This is what you do with Sugar. You call book and .list all. It gives you all the records that are present in the table for you. Here are a few more. So you find by ID. Just give the ID and it would give you an object. You can do specific finds like title equal to, and then give the value that you want to query for. Delete is similar to any other ORM. You load the object and you call delete on it, and record would be deleted. A few more: list all, delete all, and it is growing as we speak. So okay, it is open source on GitHub, and it has about 150 stars, and there are a lot of developers around the world. They're using this for their app development. Yeah, please go ahead and have a look at the source, and feel free to use it, contribute to it as you like. Here are some of the features that are planned for. This is quite old, so some of them are already implemented. There's database migration, so as you move towards versions of your app, you could easily migrate data from one version to another. Encryption, so we use SQL Cipher to encrypt the database in case you want encrypted ones for enterprise usage. Persist data on cloud, that's on plan. We are planning to use Dropbox data store API to do that, to sync across devices the same data. So all you do is in your app just save and query, and it will take care of syncing it across devices the same data. One of the other plan is to make it available on all mobile platforms, which means basically iOS as well, but that's in a longer future. One below is premium version including support and upgrades, but that's a very, very rough plan. Yep, so this is where you contact me, and of course, apart from the GitHub page, you can raise issues there, but if you want any personal help, since we are all local, you could just ping me on this. That's pretty much it. Any questions you have? Yeah. So it basically supports entity relationships. So you create an object, you contain an object, and it would create another table for you. So it uses reflection. So the question is about how it affects the performance. So it adds a reflection layer on top of it. So if you're looking at performance in particular, what you do is, instead of using list all where it reads through your cursor and gives you the list of objects, you ask for a cursor, and then each cursor row you convert into objects. So there are ways you can overcome performance. But of course, since it uses a reflection and reflection is a little slower on Android devices, it has a little performance drawback. But that's a question of plus and minuses. If you really care about performance, you're doing high performance app, yes, you would rather go with queries. But if you're okay with few milliseconds, it's a great add-on. There's a query builder. It is not in this because it's a very short talk. There's a query builder that we are working on. It has support for join and a few other things. Yeah. So we don't always abstract cursors. If you want to work with cursors, it can give you a cursor back as well, and you can work with cursors.
So actually, sorry. So we've gone past 5 minutes, but you can take the questions offline and talk to him. It's a lightning talk. So
thank you, and feel free to use it and contribute as well. Thank you.
Also, can Abhishek and Amol just come to the front? Can you just come to the front while he's... Next is Kumar.
Hello. I was thinking of a situation in which hello. I was most of the people faces in Android the memory issue, like the phone is hanging or memory is full, like that, mostly in Samsung phone. So I was thinking it is a situation for me. I use Twitter application or Facebook application once in a month, and I see that it is running mostly in background and using more than 50 MB of RAM for me. So I want to freeze such application when I don't require them and unfreeze them when I require them, actually. Because when I don't have internet, there is no sense of WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and all those stuff running in background. And when I'm especially in traveling, I want my processor to do very little stuff, maybe only calls. And I have more than 100 applications installed on my mobile. So I want to develop a launcher in which it will provide me a facility to basically install and uninstall the application along with freeze and unfreeze the application, so that I can manage my application myself and reduce the issue of hanging and data usage. Like if I don't want an application to use any of the data when the data connection is very limited, let's say that WhatsApp is downloading the videos or maybe some application is updating my photos, in that case I want to freeze such application. So I want developers to join with me to design such application. We can discuss it offline.
Amol.
Hi. So recently I attended another conference, and in which some guys gave a very influential talk on how most of our mobile applications or any of the applications that we are making, they are basically centered around sharing of content and things like that. So there are so many of real world problems that exist in our country, and we just ignore them. And as mobile developers, we thought let's take up some real world challenge. So this is one of the project that we have started. It's just me and one of my friends as of now. So what we are trying to do is we have collaborated with many of the NGOs, and they'll be providing us with the information about missing people. So we'll have the images and location of the people who have gone missing over the past few years. And we have a face recognition logic written on our servers. So the end users, we have for the Android end users, we have an Android application. So whenever you are in a car or on a bike, you can click the photograph of a beggar who approaches you, and with our servers, we'll be able to match it. And along with the photograph, we'll also capture the device location. So we can send that back to the NGO and say that this person has been located at that position. So this is one project that we are doing. We need many volunteers for this because we are facing a lot of challenges. So apart from that, NGOs are giving free database. Linode has offered the servers. We have got radio slots for free advertisements, and also the government is supporting us with all the resources. So we have too many problems with this. So you can come up and volunteer. So this is my mail ID for that.
So next we have Abhishek. We'll go next.
Hello everybody. My application is named Club. My name is Abhishek Nandi, and I want to present an idea of an application. This is the Intel App Innovation Finals application also. What this idea is all about and why I named it Club. It targets all of the people about what they are, like globally they can connect in, be it entertainment wise, be it something sharing about it, and how it integrates it. First of all, I would be using the Occupy API as it's freely available and for Android platform. So what does it do? I would be storing the database of movies, and say a new movie comes around, you click a picture and you get the data like in which hall the movie is running, and say the reviews of the movie, because it would be helpful for entertainment guys, and many people are just willing to get about, because we move fast and this information is very informative. And secondly, I would be using the archive.org API. It's JSON based. So why is it useful? Because archive.org keeps details of the endangered species. So this API have the details of endangered species all around the world, and you can just tweet it around with the friends or say the FB users and make them concerned, like this is the endangered species, so if somebody is harming that, you can just stop it. Just simple go get it kind of thing. And the next one would be the World Bank Climate Data API. That's very important because we are seeing a major change in the environment. That's affecting globally, and with the World Bank Data API, the database is there for all over the world. Any developer can use it and integrate it with the app. So what it does is it gives all the carbon footprint of all over the world details, be it for Africa, be it for India or anyone, and which country is contributing more to the carbon footprint calculation. So you can just check around whether, like on a monthly basis, that this is updated, and it is very authentic because it's been given by World Bank. And lastly, because I am more into the creative coding, so there is one tool called processing.js that's people are very much ignoring nowadays, and it's there for the Android. So this would be targeting for the people who are smaller kids, like they want to doodle around with doing something new with their touch points. So processing.js is also free, and it can be easily utilized with Android. So that's all about my application. And lastly, I am moved by the proverb from Neil Armstrong that one small step to moon, a giant leap for mankind. That's all about it.
Next we have Arvi, who's going to show us a tool.
So let me first ask you guys a quick question. Suppose you're doing a demo like this and you want to show off an Android app and to share that screen with people. What do you guys typically do? Sarah? Genymotion emulator? Okay, that's good. So some people use emulators. I've seen a few creative options. I think Anant here, you bring up the webcam, right? So Anant brings up the webcam. He holds up the phone, and then he shows off the demo of the app. So I saw him do that, I think, at a conference recently. So, sorry? Draw edit screen. So I'm just going to show you guys draw edit screen. So I think I've noticed a few people are familiar with draw edit screen, but not a lot of people use it. So I thought I'd just share this tool with you because I think it's really useful. So when you're trying to do a demo off of the phone, this lets you share the screen really easily. So I'll just take a minute. It also gives me an opportunity to show off my brand new Nexus 5. Can't complain.
Arvi's giving away a Nexus 5 to the best question.
And Gaurav sponsoring that. So it's a simple tool. Just plug in your phone via USB. And things mostly work. There we go. I just went into airplane mode to ensure there's no potentially embarrassing messages that show up. And so, voila, Nexus 5. Yeah, running KitKat. And you can see my screen right here. I've got a status meeting, see the Bangalore weather, chilly night tomorrow night, and it's live. And what's interesting is there's a bit of lag, but the point is you can show things which would otherwise be a bit of a pain. So to make it interesting, let me just turn around. And the Nexus 5's camera is not great, but let me just take a picture. So this is pretty handy, right? As you can imagine. Invariably, we end up having problems when we want to do demos. So this is a great tool. It's a simple, quick thing to just show you that this could be really handy and useful next time that you're presenting. So thanks, guys.
Next we have Pratul. And can Pankaj come to the front?
Hello. Hey. So I guess some of you at least here are Android developers. And how many of you guys use Logcat? Good. So my phone's connected to my computer right now, and I'm going to just open Logcat, and I'm going to filter for just warning messages. This is the crap that you see. Look at the amount of things that the phone is actually going to tell me, all of which are mostly useless to me because none of them are actually related to my application. Completely random things. There's also another problem. Even if this was related to my application, it doesn't look nice. And I can't make sense of it without actually reading it line by line. Instead, I'm going to show you two tools which will simplify your Logcat life. The first one is called Color Logcat, which is just a Python script that will read your Logcat and colorize it like this. Suddenly things make a lot more sense because you can see the error messages are in red, the warnings are in different colors. Each application that is sending out a message to the Logcat shows up as a different color in the tag as well. So you can see the activity manager is blue, but the GAV2 errors are in green. This makes a lot of sense, and especially since if I switch to my IDE, the amount of space that's available to me to actually write my code is very little if I have everything open. If I have everything in the IDE itself, IntelliJ gives me the Logcat, which is again not colored or any better than what the terminal gives me. Logcat there, color Logcat here. Okay, that's not the one. Where did it go? Oh, yeah. So this simplifies life. There's another cool tool that's by Kaushik Datta called Logi. So Logi is essentially only for rooted devices. What it does is it runs a small web server on your phone and then pipes the Logcat data to your browser on the computer using WebSockets. So instead of seeing the Logcat on your terminal or in your IDE, which is already fairly cluttered, what you can do is open a tab in Chrome or Firefox and see your Logcat messages in a very pretty nice format. You can filter through them, again you filter them by tag or by date or stuff like that. That's it. Basically, these are like some of the two of the most popular tools out there to make your Logcat reading simpler. That's about it. Thanks.
Pratul, the last time I looked at Color Logcat, they didn't support filters. Is that there now?
So basically, Color Logcat actually doesn't do anything to the Logcat. It just filters whatever you give. So if you notice, when I actually go here, I'm actually filtering here by 1 second. So you notice I'm actually filtering only warning messages here. I specify my filters in Logcat, whatever I have to specify, and then I pipe them out to Color Logcat.
Okay, I think this is a different tool, I think.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these scripts, but this one's the most generic because whatever you do in Logcat, it'll just colorize it. That's all it does. It's simple enough. I can change the filter in Logcat and it'll change this. It's the same with Logi. I think Logi also lets you do this. That's it. Any other questions? Yes, it does. But then we are still a while away from IAD 30. Yeah. He's telling me that IntelliJ IDEA 13 has a better Logcat viewer. But then again, I'm against using it in IntelliJ itself because, as I said, it's already fairly cluttered. I barely have any space to look at my code. Okay. Right. Now that's how it is. Thanks, guys.
Hello all, this is Pankaj here. So I would like to talk about a tool called as Screen.me. So why I want to talk about this tool, because we have been using this tool extensively, and I feel I should share this tool with you all. So this tool basically lets you share your screen from a browser, and a browser of any platform. I mean, be it Mac, Ubuntu, or Windows, and viewer can be from any endpoint. I mean, be it tablet, iPhone, Android, anything. And again, viewer can be from a browser, so no need to install anything, no need to register, no need to log in. So it's the USP of this tool, I would say, is ease of use. So let me show you a quick demo of how it works. So I have shared my screen from my Android device. So I can go to option saying view a shared screen. So I just need to give one access code which I have got on my device. So there you are. So this is the screen that you are seeing is my Android screen. So as I said, it's simple to use, and no need of login registration, and it's free to use. Okay, and there can be multiple use cases to use this application. For example, technical support is one important use case that can be covered using this tool. For example, let's say users who are using some complex application of a company who is providing technical support through with the help of this tool. So users can share their screen via this tool, and support can view their screen and guide them how to proceed further in case they have stuck somewhere. Yeah, so this is it. Thank you. Any questions? No. So it's a pure HTTP based protocol. We are just using RESTful web services, and the whole system is written in such an intelligent way that any change in the screen from the initiator. So we will be sending only those portions of the screen which has got changed since the last update. So so you would hardly see any lag. Let me show you. Switching to another page. So there is a connection problem. The connection is not of that great quality. I'm on the edge network. Yeah, you see there. Thank you.
Next up is Gaurav, and he's going to talk about an open source tool that he's built himself.
Hi, I'm going to talk about a project called Clark Kent. It's a mild-mannered reporter. So the problem that drove this was I was building apps at Flipkart, and a lot of times we'd have problems in production. We would need to figure, like a user would call us and we'd have to try to figure out, like, let's say he's bought a book and he's trying to download it. Did the download succeed? Or he's bought the book but the payment failed. And it's very hard for us to piece together whether the problem happened on the client side, whether it happened server-side logs. We could still figure stuff out, but it was very hard for us to figure problems or just get logs from devices. So 3 classes of things we really were interested in. One were general events, right? So you're downloading a book, so you start the download, you pause the download, you resume the download, and you finish the download. Just knowing these 4 things for a particular user was enough that we could debug issues when they called in. Failures. So let's say something actually failed, right? They tried to so the first thing we implemented failures for was payments. Every time they're trying to do a payment and it fails, we need to know something went wrong. And latencies. So understanding that a download on a Galaxy Y on a 2G network could take 6 minutes, right? Or let's say the landing page on a Galaxy Y on a 2G network would be very slow, right? So having that data across, thousands of users was very useful for us to do optimizations. So there are services that kind of do some of this stuff. I mean, Criticism, Crashlytics, BugSense are good for crashes. Criticism also does some latency stuff. You can use analytics. So there's Flurry, Google Analytics. We used Omniture. There are backend as a services. I think someone's going to talk about it next. So it's just like an API where you can dump all sorts of random data. So Parse, StackMob are 2 of the famous ones. They give good queries. They're flexible, but none of them really solved the complete problem. And like I've seen different companies use a different set of these services. So yeah, errors make sense in Criticism, but maybe not in Flurry or New Relic, things like that. So all I wrote was a simple abstraction where every time you have an event or a failure or a latency, you just create an object, and the system will. And so there's the abstraction. Then there's the service that you can report to. So in the configuration, you can say that I want errors to go to Criticism and Parse, and I want latencies to go to Parse and Google Analytics. Right? So that's just a one-time thing. And the SDK will add useful information like device ID, user ID. It does optimizations for mobile. So you want to batch your network calls. If the device is offline, you need to save this stuff on the device. And the moment you get connectivity, it has to resume. So these are some things the SDK would provide. This doesn't look very nice, but the idea is that you just create an event. Let's see. So you just create an event. You can give it a string and just say report. And now it gets handled by the system. Or you create a latency, so this is where it starts, and at the end of the function, you report it. Right? So the idea was to have these things really simple. I still need help implementing reporters for different services. I haven't implemented the offline mode, and I'm thinking of trying to make it even easier. Can we use Java annotations instead of sticking things in code? And on the server side, at least for Parse, like we have a good UI, but I want to implement a custom UI with more queries and queries and other stuff. And another thing I implemented as part of this was a logger wrapper. So a problem at Flipkart and a lot of other companies, you write log.debug, and then when you're close to release, you go and comment all of that out. So how many people have done that? Okay, what do the rest of you do around logging? Okay. The rest of the people are liars. Most companies have dealt with this, or they don't deal with this and they're logging stuff in their production apps that they shouldn't be. So Logger is a simple abstraction. You can change the logging level at runtime. It supports writing the logs to a file, and then you can upload them, let's say in a support API. And I'm trying to do optimizations to prevent unnecessary string construction. So that's the idea. There's a GitHub repository where you can see all of this. And my email is gaurav@littleye.co, and this is my Twitter hashtag. So check out the repository out and let me know if you have questions. Thanks. Any questions? Do I have time?
For the logger. For the logger, do you write in the main thread or you create a separate thread for writing onto the file?
Yeah, so right now it's in the main thread. That's something that we'll probably have to tweak. So the idea is that when you're offline, it's all getting logged to a file, but then whenever it detects that there's network, it will basically flush and send whatever data needs to go. So a lot of the SDKs do this. So Omniture, I think Flurry does this as well. Okay, cool. Thanks.